What's up, home buddies? I know it is time for a new video update. I've been working on one for new scene partner techniques, which has been really cool, but it's not quite finished. I've been starting to look at volumetric video, which I think has a lot of cool potential. And then there's been a lot of cool, exciting stuff happening in the background of onboarding different theater initiatives into future stages and not future stages related virtual theater initiatives. So I'm working all of that, hoping to get more videos out soon. But where I'm really running into problems is audio. Audio always the number one thing when it comes to a more of a filmmaking medium, and that is the world we have entered now that we're all talking into cameras all the time. And so I want to really get the audio kind of beefed up on my end, which means it's time to look at some Bluetooth headphones. There's so many great reviews online. I kind of used some of those to guide my initial choices. I've never done an unboxing video before, and I thought, why not? I'm going to be looking at this solely from the perspective of a performer that is doing kind of virtual performance, live performance, integrating a headphone where you can hear your scene partner or hear your audience, and then piping the audio to OBS. So I'm going to be looking at wearability, comfort for me personally. Audio quality is honestly less of a priority. Obviously, I want to be able to hear. I'd like it to sound nice, but it's really about the user or the viewer's experience. So my main focus is going to be letting you all hear me on camera using the different headphones. So I've got a lavalier microphone that I'll be wearing for the entire thing. And then I've seen this very fun trick where they snap and switch to the other audio. So I'm going to be doing that. For full transparency, so you can understand what you're hearing, I'm using a Panasonic GH5 camera with a Lumix DMW XLR1 adapter, and plugged into that is a Sennheiser AVX ME2, which has a Bluetooth connection to my lavalier mic. This is what I've used on all of my films because it offers a quick and dirty solution direct into the camera. I can throw it on my actors. It looks low profile. It doesn't attract a lot of attention. It's not a huge boom pole sticking around. And I don't have to sync picture to sound in editing, which is huge for me, because I'm lazy. Based off of my research, I settled on the Airpods Pro, the Sony WF1000xm3s, and the Jabra Elite Active 75T. These are all on the more expensive end, but they also all came very strongly reviewed, and at some point in time, it's hard to really make an assessment unless they're in your own ears. So that's what I'm going to do today. Here we go. Starting off with the iPad Pros, if you have other Apple products, they always come in nice packaging for the 5 seconds that you experience that. Right out of the box, you have this nice case that they fit inside of for scale. And then bloop, they are right in there. Supposedly this case will charge them as well as give you a little extra charge to carry around. Putting them right in, obviously they stick out of my ears, which is, you know, not ideal aesthetically. People would be able to see that while I was performing. We've seen a lot of performers have something sticking out of their head, Frankenstein. But I'm told that the longer stem is what actually allows the microphone to have a little better quality because it's that much closer to your mouth, but we'll see how that goes. Holding down on the right ear activates or deactivates the transparency mode, which basically means you can hear through the headphones, the room around you, which is a nice feature because now I feel like I don't have to shout over my closed off eardrums. I can actually hear more naturally my own voice as well as other people's voices. So that's a nice feature. Okay, so apparently I opened the case, hold it near my device while it is in searching mode, and see if it finds it. And we are connected. It has a bunch of options that come up. Microphone automatically switch, AirPods, always left, always right, automatic ear detection. I can activate the buttons based off of holding on things to either noise control or Siri on both sides. And I can toggle between noise cancellation, transparency, and completely off. Fantastic. So now I've got these in my ears again, supposedly connected to the computer. I'm going to go ahead and add an audio input capture. Call this the Pods Pro.
Great.
Great.
And
I now have the Pods Pro plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and turn this microphone
off. And now I'm just saying words and thinking thoughts and feeling feelings, talking. I can perform very loudly and then just keep it very normal and natural. And this is what it sounds like just going into Bluetooth in my computer and being brought into OBS.
Now I'm just switching back to my lavalier mic. I'm going to go ahead and pull up some music on my computer and just listen to that and play it back. All right. What is interesting is it's a very nice clean sound. It's an Apple device, but it actually feels like it's got a lot of disruption. I don't know if that's the Bluetooth signal in my office or if that is the device, but I don't love it. It definitely feels like I've got some static, I've got some feedback happening on my end, which is disappointing, especially for something right out of the box. Yeah, so just for what it's worth, that is a thing that is happening in real time. Cool. So I'm gonna pause that. And now I'm just gonna give it a nice little shake. So I feel like I could move jerkily, that's how we act. But it kind of holds up to movement, which is nice. So I don't feel like it's gonna come out of my ear. However, it could if I was doing a costume change, which probably wouldn't be doing in virtual reality, but definitely in a normal feeder mode, I might be pulling something on or off. I could see myself catching one of these and ripping it off. So just something to keep in mind. Some basic specs. They are IPX4 water resistant. They do have active noise cancellation. They've got the transparency mode that we discussed. They claim 4.5 hours of listening time with a single charge, and the case offers 24 hours of listening time. The Apple AirPods Pro at the top of our price point at $220. Jabra definitely winning the bulkiest packaging award. Gotta take up that shelf space. For the little babies that are inside the big box. Excellent. Download the free Jabra Sound app to connect to your smartphone. All right, well, let's see if you'll just connect. Just connect to the computer. Little Jabra action. This guy. The case is much more comparable to the AirPods Pro size. Again, less of a concern for me. These are actually the first earpods that I've tried that aren't labeled right and left. So, you know, bit of a guessing game. Question is, do I think they go up or down? Oh, very exciting startup noise. So this is walking me through instructions on how to set up the device, which is a nifty little feature. So I've now connected my Jabra Elite Active 75T. And we're gonna make this in OBS as well, an audio input capture, the Jabras. Okay. So this is me talking with the Jabras and my audio, so that's probably distracting.
So now this is just me talking with the Jabras in, and yeah, this is just in the office. There is a little air conditioning going, but it's the same thing that was happening during the AirPods Pro test. This is exactly what it sounded like. I can be much louder and do the things, or I can talk more naturally. There's a faint hiss or white noise happening in the background. I don't know if that's their version of the transparency mode. I can toggle around a little bit here. Definitely by pressing buttons, it opened up more white noise sounding things. So I'm guessing that is the volume on the transparency mode.
And back to my lavalier audio while I continue to futz with the settings here. Quick test, the right ear stayed in, the left ear did not. Again, Jabra does come with some additional tips. They say superior sound starts with a superior fit, so they have a variety of options to keep it a little more in the ears. However, again, I don't love that they could just kind of tumble out, and I think that's due to the amount of weight that's hanging outside of the ear that could also get caught on something, which was my original concern with the AirPods Pro. I have a single button on the left ear that mutes and unmutes, and a single button on the right ear That doesn't seem to do much of anything. Noted. Let's listen to a little bit of music. Okay. So it's a nice full sound, but it's much tinnier than the iPods Pro. The AirPods Pro have much more of a bass, I think, both in the vocal audio with the microphone to my ears, as well as in the headset itself. This feels much tinnier, and I wonder if that's how it's going to sound on the microphone end as well. I also am getting a lot of streaming playback errors. There's just kind of a disconnect, which is making me also just wonder about the overall Bluetooth capability of my office area. If there's some sort of feedback or some sort of signal interference, because I've had this trouble with both the AirPods Pro and the Jabras. Uh-oh. Some basic specs on the Jabras. They are water and dust resistant. They have up to 28 hours of battery life. They have what they call 4-microphone call technology, which is basically their noise cancellation. They're protected against dust and water with IP55 rated protection, and they are voice assist enabled. Nifty. And I found the Jabras for a price tag of $199.99. Okay, moving. Are we doing this? Is it working? Hooray. All right, moving into the Sonys. They slide right out of the box and are displayed this way. Obviously, the very first thing we notice is a much larger carrying case, but again, that's fine for my needs because I ain't going anywhere. That's the whole reason I have to buy this stuff. They come about this side, which is honestly about the same size as the iPods Pro, and sticks out very similarly. Now I can tell you immediately that feels far less secure in my ear. We'll give it the shake test right out of the gate. Oh no! Well, that answers that. Now, to be fair, it does come with a variety of sizes for your ears, but I am a little concerned that right out of the gate, it's a lot of weight hanging outside of the actual ear, and that could pose problems down the road. But let's go ahead and give it a listen, because that's what the Sonys are really well known for, is the microphone. Okay, so I'm gonna hold my left and right for 7 seconds and see what happens. Appears to be blinking blue, and we'll take that as a good sign. Okay. That was a process. I'm happy to take at least half of the blame on that, but the other two connected pretty intuitively, and that took much more work. And there wasn't really anything right out of the box that kind of told me how to navigate the pairing process. So, for what it's worth, it seems all three of these have really been geared for pairing them with a mobile device, not with a computer. So, there's just limited instructions on how to handle that side of things. This is, I will say, right out of the gate, some music was still playing from my previous test on the Jabras, and this is the clearest audio that I've heard. As far as the actual receiving audio, it is very crisp, very lovely. It's a very enjoyable sound. Yeah, this just feels sharp. So as far as a consumer just sitting back listening, this is a very, very pleasant experience. But now, of course, we have to do what we came here to do. And I'm not getting any of that static that I was getting on the other sets for whatever reason. So now let's do what we're really here to do, which is to listen to how it sounds on the microphone. Sony is an audio input source in OBS.
And here we go. So now I am talking on the Sonys, and I believe that that should be coming through and sounding fantastic. Certainly hope so anyway. And this is what the Sonys sound like when I'm just talking, and I can get much louder because drama and acting is loud sometimes, or I can speak much more naturally. These don't seemingly have that transparency mode. I feel like I'm kind of talking over a little bit because my sound of myself is dulled, but there's enough room around the ear that I do feel like I hear at least the that I can hear myself enough that I'm not like shouting over myself. The Sonys definitely have more of a sensitivity of touch and clearly a lot of different features that I can unpack and get into. It's not entirely intuitive for me out of the box, but I do find it to be very responsive with me tapping different areas of the device and getting different notifications in my ear.
And we're back into just the lavalier microphone and these in my head. Again, that shake test was not great and got something hanging out of my ear. Some quick specs on the Sonys. It takes 3 hours to charge the battery and gives you about 30 hours of continuous music playback. It of course has the noise cancellation, but I actually don't see anything about being water or dust proof. So these would definitely be the gentlest of the devices. And the Sony's on a surprising sale right now, originally priced at $228 down to $178 right now, making them the cheapest option that I'm looking at today. Again, my main focus is microphone integrity in this test, and so I'm gonna put them back to back to back just to hear them one more time, but observations right out of the gate, the Sony seems to be the best experience as a listener. I think the audio quality was the nicest, and that was what the reviews kind of led me to believe early on. However, it was the most difficult to connect to my machine. I can only imagine connecting it to multiple devices. Again, I was dealing with a bunch of static and frequency errors, which again is sad because that kind of removes the Sony as an option for me. The transparency mode on the Jabras and the Airpods Pro was a real game changer for me, at least. I hadn't really ever thought about the fact that when I'm in earphones, I can't really hear myself, and so much of performance, particularly musical performance, is that self-monitoring ability. And so I really love to be able to kind of better have a sense of the room, so I'm not like shouting over just to kind of hear myself. I think that'll allow a lot more nuanced, a lot more natural performances, and also allow you to stay aware of the room and your environment when you're performing, especially in isolation. The AirPods Pro stayed in my ears the best. However, all of these devices have external components hanging outside of the ear. So I really think that I'll be looking for more of a traditional earbud that just kind of tucks in and stays in. Also, aesthetically, just when you're performing, you don't want someone sitting there watching a thing hanging off the performer's ear. Just in case I'm dealing with competing Bluetooth, I'm gonna remove my mic pack and just test all the microphones back to back to back, just to make sure that I'm not screwing something up here. All right, Bluetooth devices are turned off. Excellent, once more with feeling, just to give everybody a fair shake.
Check, check, check. All right, these are the AirPods Pro. Obviously a Mac device talking to a Mac computer through the Bluetooth and brought in as an audio input source into my OBS. And these are the Jabra Elite Active 75Ts, very seamlessly integrated into my Mac via Bluetooth and brought in as an audio input source into OBS. We have a little light air conditioning, no other room noise, and these are the Jabras. Okay, so full transparency, this is the third time I have tested the Sonys because I'm getting all sorts of weird interference and static. Totally willing to take the responsibility that my office, my environment, has some weird frequency disruptions, but means that I don't think the Sonys can be for moi. But this is what the Sony WF1000xm3s sound like with some light air conditioning and no other room noise, except for the crazy frequency.
On first listen, they all kind of sound the same to me, so just as a control, I've got some Powerbeats Pros here that I'm gonna throw in and take a listen to that microphone.
Okay, so these are the Powerbeats Pro, Bluetoothed into the Mac and input capture in OBS, just as a control sample for something I know I've used before.
This was just an impromptu one I threw in there just for a comparison, but some quick specs, 9 hours of listening time, sweat resistant, some noise cancellation, and they run just under $200 online. Like the others, there is some device that hangs outside of the ear. However, the clips on the back keep it tucked against you. So that is a comparison back to back to back of how these microphones sound when brought into OBS, which is what my intended use would be. Yours might be different. No judgment, but especially if I'm gonna throw $200 down on something, especially per cast member when you're trying to unify the sound of everybody across multiple platforms and devices, I don't know that I can really justify the cost if I'm not getting the type of audio that I could get out of a $200 microphone for my camera. So just stacking everything back to back to back and being totally fair, it seems like all of them have the same concerns when it comes to kind of a lot of weight hanging out of the ear or an externalized piece that might be either pulling out of the ear during a performance or might give it some shakeability. The AirPods Pro were the device that stayed in during the most aggressive shaking, if you will. I don't know if that's because the stem kind of helps balance it out, or maybe because the device itself is kind of smaller and tucked into your ears. But I did notice as far as the movement capability, the AirPods Pro stayed in the best for me. But they do have then the dangly happening that could catch onto something more than the other two. Really, when it comes to microphone quality, all three sounded pretty darn close. They all have that kind of compressed, clean feel to them, but I really feel like it isn't necessarily something that I would want to listen to for an entire performance. And this is what we're up against in virtual theater, is that the comparison is obviously going to be film and television, where there are professional microphones at play. And so as far as my search right now, I hate to say it, it's kind of a disappointing discovery that it kind of feels like for the price tag that comes with each of these, they're great devices. It's amazing what they're doing. The noise cancellation is really incredible if you're just looking for a consumer product out of the box. However, when it comes to a dedicated tool for performing, these pack a real price punch and don't really give you kind of what you would expect the equivalent to be if you were going to drop a couple $100s on an actual lavalier microphone. And if I'm not going to get one device that does all the things, I might as well save a bunch of money and really focus on the needs of each product. For example, I could get a much lower profile and a lower priced earbud that just focuses on the listening experience and just don't worry about how crappy the microphone is, and instead dedicate some of that budget to a separate device like the Antlion Mod Mic, which twice now when I've been on a Zoom call with somebody and asked them, what microphone are you using that sounds fantastic, it has been the Antlion Mod Mic, for what it's worth. So I know that was not how we wanted today to go. I certainly am frustrated because I was really hoping to have a solution going into some projects and rehearsals, that I had a reliable headphone plus microphone solution. However, I hope the real takeaway is that I've spent the entire summer trying to find low-cost or free solutions for virtual theater makers, and I'm not gonna just pitch you on a $200 device that doesn't get us there. I think we can demand more and ask for more. Especially when it comes to live performance, we wanna make sure that that audio sounds really good, and especially since so much performance right now is happening over video conferencing softwares that already compress your audio and make you sound kind of like a robot, I really wouldn't want to pitch people on buying an expensive device that doesn't really elevate their overall production value. So the search continues, but you can let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Maybe I'm being too much of a snob, or maybe one of them stood out to you that I overlooked. Please be kind to yourself and each other, and I hope to be back to my regular case study videos next week. Now go create something.